All right, a big hey now. Let's see how everybody's doing out here in the chat. Hey, ode to the squirrel, baby. Ode to the squirrel. You see my squirrel up there? There you go. Ooh, let's see. I'm going to put some upbeat music on here. A little bit of background for myself. Let's see. We're at 11. I'll turn it up for myself so I can hear it. Makes me feel better. How's everybody doing out there? What are you thinking? Wow, lots of action last couple days, last week, man. Kind of throwing me all off. I'm here to answer questions if I can. I'm going to try to answer some of them. So what are the three big things that have happened in the last week or so, right? Well, first, pump.tires. Pump.tires. All right. It reduced, it increased volume substantially on the chain. Like significantly, but it reduced the non-OA share percentage of the volume. Go figure that. Huh? That's my estimate. I can't back it up really with like numbers, but just from observation. A lot of that volume is going through pairs that quote unquote are owned by the OA because the OA quote unquote owns the tokens it put out as part of Pump.Tires. Woo! Burning the hell out of Pulse, man. Burning the hell out of Pulse. And then what was shoe number two? Shoe number two. That's for the three-legged man, I guess. Shoe number two was wow, billions and billions of HEX staked. Billions and billions and billions. Well, that effectively has reduced the reward level by 60% on HEX, right? So the OA, again, is taking up most of that, by the fact that it has now staked, right? So those rewards still getting paid out. The system's still inflating, the amount of HEX that would be potentially could be generated still increasing, but it's, those rewards are going to the OA. All right, so that was number two. Number three. Ooh, my farms. Ouch. All right, 90% drop in APR on the farms. Crazy. I don't think any of us planned on this. Now, a lot of times when I've been talking about different methods of obtaining rewards on chain, when I talk about when I talk about the farming and the LP, a lot of times I talk about the risk that's out there, that things will change pretty rapidly. Well, we just saw it, right? So yes, I had gone into the farms. I've been in the farms for almost 2 years, right, since launch, and now boom, overnight, no more yield, just gone. Where are my rewards? They went away. Yeah, so that happened. And so is there a fourth shoe to drop? Don't know, maybe. I don't know. This is a joke more than anything else, but are we going to see, we're going to see 45,000 new validators spin up tomorrow? and then the amount of validation rewards get cut in half? I don't know. I don't think so. But hey, right? It's certainly in the realm of possibility. I'm not saying that would happen, but so what is happening? Woo. So I'll wait for some questions in the chat. I can look at some of the things, some of the data that I have. We can look at some of the pictures that are there. The 7-day stakes wreaking havoc on my charts for the T-shares and the estimates and everything. So right now, but we can go through the basics of what this does, but it doesn't change a lot in the near term, except that people's reward level, aka their APR or APY in HEX terms, has gone down. That's it. And plus, if you're trying to keep yourself at a certain level, like a dolphin or whatever, well, if you include the OA, you no longer can compete, right? You'd have to double your T-shares at a minimum to be at the same level. So So every wallet just went down in ranking. So kind of crazy there. Yeah, so a lot of confusion out there, a lot of dismay, a lot of anger. A lot of anger. I don't blame people for being irritated to sell. But I'll tell you, now this is going to be where I'm crazy. I think it's bullish, bullish in so many different ways. Even my dog agrees. Even my dog agrees. Bullish. So why do I say that? Why do I say that? Well, so take a walk with me into the scenario where the OA continues to roll these stakes just for a little while. I mean, we don't know what will happen in the end, right? Most people are going to look at the reward level, the yield on short stakes, and be like, nah, not even worth it. I mean, some people will still value it, but I mean, a couple, 3-4% people will be like, nah, pass, right? So, that bow wave that we've had that's been there for, since the beginning of HEX, well, those guys and ladies all got to make a decision now. Are they going out longer or are they getting out? Are they going out longer or are they getting out? Right? So, that's pretty interesting, right? Now, long stakers as well, even medium-term stakers, man. Now I'm looking at a Quattro Cinco, and I think only the few of us who really believe in HEX are going to be like, yeah, I'm going to do a Quattro Cinco. I'm coming up on a Quattro Cinco next week that I need to make, and I'm going to continue to do so, right? Crazy talk, I know, but I don't have the numbers yet. But if those stakes continue to roll, that would start my APR somewhere around 10%, 11%. Now, can you imagine, trying to convince somebody, yeah, you should lock up all your HEX for 15 years. And yeah, you can't have access to it for 7.5 years. And if you try to take it out before that, you might lose it all. And you know what you're going to get in return for that is 10%. So yeah, I mean, I think we can all see the handwriting on the wall, right? As to what this will probably do into staking, in terms of what, more people doing staking. I mean, the amount of difficulty it'll be to convince somebody, if that was your job, it's not my job to convince you, but I mean, if it was somebody, somebody really wanted to do it, I mean, it would be like, nah, I got so many other things I could do. Now we used to point to the farms. Now, for the time being, you could point to validating, so you get 10% over there. You could point to UPLS from Validator X, I get 10% over there. You could point to Vouch. You could say, nah, I'm going to go play on the farms on 9-inch. I'm going to go over to PHEX and do the two PHEX. I mean, there's just so many places you can go get level rewards. I mean, you could even go convert to stables, and go drop it into the PulseX stable pool and earn about 10% at the moment. So yeah, this is gonna be a big challenge. Now, I don't dispute that there's an opportunity here to reset things. I think that's true, right? All this stuff is going on. There is an opportunity for people to reset, their impact, what they're doing, what their investments are. But clearly, there's some pretty big changes. Now, what I would like to stress to everyone is even the farm change, okay, it might stick for a very long time. Don't know. There's no game plan. But it may stick for a very long time, but it could also change tomorrow. Yeah. It could go back tomorrow, go back in 2 weeks. It could not go back. I don't know. Then you can go the other direction, go same thing with HEX staking. It's only 7 days. And that stake ends, right, one way or another. Well, it'll at least become mature. In fact, I see a question in the chat about this. Let's see what BTFD was saying. It says, if the OA does good accounting, leaves it in place, it does not earn more yield, but the yield is still reduced. Is that correct? No, that is incorrect. It is not reduced. So this is good. Good question. So what ends up happening is the OA made the stake, right? Or stakes, right? In both chains that are out there. The OA does not come back and end. Does not come back and end. Okay, sitting there just like anybody else's stake. Yes, it stops earning after the 7th day. It does. Because it just stops, right? It doesn't get it anymore. And those earnings go nowhere. They go nowhere. They don't go to anybody. So during that period of time, then there's about a 14-day, not about, but a 14-day grace period where that stake can be ended or good accounted before penalties start. After the 14th day, the stake begins to be penalized 1% per week for 100 weeks, and then at the end it would be 0. During that period, the stake would be accruing penalties, and at the end, when it finally got to the end, somebody could good account it. Haven't seen one of those happen yet, but where someone's gone out till the full 2 years and waited to do the good accounting for a very big stake. But it can go all the way to the end. They'd good account, and then on that day, that entire stake and all the rewards all boom would come out to the stakers all that time. But it's pretty unlikely. It might be likely that the OA does nothing with the stake. That's a possibility. Because many times in the last few years, all the way back to like February of 21, every time a stake has come up for ending, the OA has done nothing and just let it sit. And then somebody from the community waited a few days and emerged and good accounted it and took it out. So that, I think that's probably a likely scenario, but not guaranteed. Not guaranteed. Could be rolling. Don't know. I don't know. Don't know. I'll have to watch and see what happens. But yeah, going back to your question, if the OA does good accounting, somebody else does the good accounting, and leaves it in place, the HEX is locked in there until somebody ends the stake, but they're not getting paid rewards. And if the good accounting was done, the T-shares are out of the pool, and so the yield goes right back up. So yeah, I have kind of like a different idea about what might be happening here, but let's see what else we got for questions here. I see Yuvine out there. Hello, Yuvine. Good to see you. Jeezy. Let's see. Godfather, I see you. Yeah, I think it just the issues about the good accounting, not keep the yield down. That's why the OA would roll it weekly. Yeah, exactly. If the intent was to keep the reward level down week after week, then it would have to be rolled because those T-shares would have to be put back in place. Now, if the community didn't good account it, you'd have the same effect. And would you be there? But we got a lot of people. So who's gonna sit there and let that sit? Somebody will go good account it. Doesn't cost that much gas, right? So they'll go do it. And then this T-shares will fall out of the pool. Let's take a look here. Yeah, Chacos, I saw that James launched. Man, I'm staying away from myself from the tires stuff. Pump that tires. We did one last week, and I think went pretty well. But yeah, hey, listen, this is huge for Pulsechain. I'll put my Pulsechain hat on. Huge for Pulsechain. Right, need to have those types of protocols. People want that. That is the embodiment of people messing around with crypto, having fun. So it's a lot of fun over there. But yeah, so I did see that James came out, and shout out to Atropa, Hex Wizard. Yeah, man. I don't know. I'd like to see Trump come back. Hex, that'd be good. That would be a hell of a what if. Yeah, BTFD. You're saying here that so the only metric GA affects is percent of HEX staked once it has been good accounted, which is what you would call a GA stake. Yeah, it just shows you the amount of HEX that's locked in GA. And there are certain people who they look at that kind of information and it makes them feel better. Like I have high level of trust. The OA is not doing anything, but other people might feel a lot better seeing it locked up locked up in the chart, in the address. Oh yeah, Yavin, let's get into that. Let's talk about what I think might be happening about disincentivizing short stakes and increasing the ROI over time. We'll do that right now. Shout out here to HEX Wizard 369. I don't get very many super chats. Thank you, my friend. Make you smile. Thank you. $20. Thank you for all you do, sir. Thank you for listening. Toby One, I see you out there. All right. Yeah. 419 Shell Fox. Let's see. You have a question there. Hey, Finbear, my favorite carnivore, Hexagon carnivore. All right. Can the OA use stake mechanisms collateral for stable? Could it use it as collateral? Yes. It could use use the stake mechanism as collateral for a stable. That could happen, but it would not be with the existing HEX contract. And I don't know what the particulars would be, but it would probably look much like the Hedron staking, or not Hedron staking, but the HEX staking instances, and how you would wrap a stake. And then, so you would have something that you could hold, in a contract that you originally owned the keys for, but now you've transferred ownership to a lending protocol of some type, and now it's used as collateral. So yeah, that could happen. That's an interesting thing. So I'll give you a couple thoughts, right? A couple simple thoughts on this right off the bat. Whenever we've seen the OA make moves, big moves like this, it's been to protect the system. Okay. Yes, I know if you tend to think negatively, a lot of people jump right to the conclusion that they're taking all the yield, stealing all the money, but I don't kind of like going that direction. I really look at it as it's been stabilizing for the system, and so big payday, stabilizing. Even the AA adoption amplifier stabilizing. The idea that it prevented people from continuing to drive the price down by collecting cheap HEX in the AA and selling it on the market, and made it more expensive by recycling the ETH. As an example, took a big position itself, so that it could be the benevolent whale and outpace any other whale or Poseidon in the system. So that's pretty cool that way. Big payday, got the brunt of the rewards. Pulsechain sacrifice got the brunt of the sacrifice, right? With the ability to basically sacrifice its own assets to itself, right? Pulsex sacrifice, same thing, right? So now fast forward, we see these big moves happening with the OA, particularly in the HEX, right? One scenario, I don't know what scenario will be out there, but what's really going to happen, we're going to have to watch it. There's somebody was saying in the chat, we're just going to have to wait the 7 days, see what happens. We have to deal with the facts we have, but speculation-wise, you'd be like, wow, let's see here. The OA is locking everything up tight. I wonder if a storm is coming. Are there events on the horizon? Yeah, right. Could be, as theorized, 2 more days, 3 more days. There's an final announcement that the court case is over. Could be, don't know. Could be that some sort of event, whether it's court case being over, price goes up, court case is being over, price goes down, that maybe there's an expectation that there'll be a ton of emergency end stakes. So let's say that was the case, right? And, you guys have heard me talking with Johnny Chaos in the past about this, about the potential, maybe 90% of the 10-year stakes being emergency end stake this year. Well, if the OA isn't there, right, it only gets half the penalties, right? But since the OA just doubled up on everything, right? And they own, the OA has more than half the T-shares on both chains. Those emergency end stakes, not only does the OA get those rewards because they get half of the penalties, the other half of the penalties go to the stakers, and half of those go to the OA, or 60% of them. So it could be that the OA is kind of like putting HEX in a safe position, so that if things do happen in such a way that we get those emergency end stakes, it would be in position to maintain its percentages, right? Oh, I see the big Tam Tam out there. Hey, Tam Tam and Hexagon Army. All right, so what else could happen? Hey, guys, man, let's go back to this bigger picture with what just happened with Pump.Tires. I monitor volume on a daily basis. My numbers, then you can argue about exact numbers. I don't know what they exactly were, but we were at a low of about 11 million per day on the track pairs that I follow. Boom, that went up to like 130 million yesterday. 130 million. It went up 13x, 11x, 12x, whatever, right? In a few different days. Gas went from 2 million, I think at one point, way over 100 million during these periods where the bots were on the run. A huge percentage of that, majority of it's going through V1, doesn't even hit V2. Big percentage of that volume's going through Pump.Tires. The Pump.Tires stuff. All right, wow, man. So we got increased volume, right? Well, more drive going through the system. Man, I don't care how it got there. We got more people doing more things, and hey, I participate in a couple of those. I like chasing those numbers up. It's fun. It's fun to be, have your chart and do some stuff. I'm not recommending people go do that, man. That's not financial advice. But I'm just saying, I get it. It's just fun to participate in those types of things. And so people are doing it. And that's what you need in crypto to get people in, right? They got to see that. They got to see these big, giant green candles. It's wonderful that every candle that graduates, go look at them, right, man? Because it has to be this way. Every candle that graduates and launches from Pump.Tires, you look at that chart there. It's a fantastic chart, man. Fantastic. And those things launching basically at parity to Pulse. Boom. And then people can do whatever they want out there. Building up Pulse liquidity like a banshee, right? Just building it up, right? So you got this high volatility, you got green candles, you got potentially interest. Yeah, okay. I know some of us don't like it, but you have all that going on. And then you go over to you go look at what happened with HEX, right? Suddenly, at least in the short term, suddenly there's gonna be a lot of HEX that ain't coming out anymore, right? I mean, there's still gonna be HEX coming out, but there are a whole bunch of HEX that ain't coming out. And so, those 7-day guys just got cut in half, right? Maybe they won't even come. Maybe they won't even get their 3%. They're not interested, right? I mean, the 6-7%, maybe equivalent APR, right? The ROI just got cut down so significantly. Maybe they wouldn't come back. So you have a lot less sell pressure there. Then you have those farms, boom, 90% down, right? I mean, some of it's coming back a little bit now because people pulled out and they're pulling the liquidity, but they're making the system lighter, so it can bounce around a lot more. All right, it can bounce around. Price appreciation is more possible, I guess is what I'd say. So you have that going on. All right. And so, yeah, I don't know what could happen. I don't know if somebody comes with $1 billion or $500,000 and they buy like we saw with Ink, and the price goes up, or, we get an announcement and the price goes up. But just imagine, and this goes back to that scenario because we are talking about the HEX T-shares. If suddenly everybody who has been waiting for their halftime period to get passed and they suddenly can pull significant value out of the system, many of them may consider doing emergency end stakes. And so if that was a potential, yeah, I'd want a backdrop so that the OA would collect as much of that as possible. That's a scenario. Oh boy, so that's what I'm thinking. Hey Benny, I see you out there. I see you out there, Shellfox, saying, hey, thanks. We are in the greatest space in crypto. I think Pulsechain is awesome, but possibly the greatest place in the financial world. Pleasure to be here with you all. Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us, Shellfox. All right, so let's go take a couple ganders of some pictures, some stuff I got. Again, things aren't going to be, they're not going to be a lot of changes right away. I mean, there's the obvious that we talked about. My favorite is when people are like, oh, the T-Share rate, it's going to the moon. No, it may later, but not yet. So let's go take a look. Let me share my screen out. Let's just go take a look at our look aheads and see what we got here. Take myself off the screen. All right, let's make this a little bit bigger. Okay, doing our 30-day look ahead. All right, remember that stakes have been programmed in for a very long time. Stakes have been out there for a very long time, and those stakes are coming up to be ended, and they've had time to accrue a hell of a lot more than 4 HEX per T-share per day. Okay, so even though these are big stakes and they get the little 10% increase, kind of tough to think it's going to do anything else. So just simply stated, there just won't be any stakes yet that, based on the new APR, will beat the old new share rate calculations. In fact, if anything, on my charts here where I'm showing like 41K here after Valentine's Day, it'll be a little bit lower, right? If anything, I would expect it to be a little bit lower. Now, why would it be lower? Well, again, let me remind you that when we're doing the calculation, sub-level on the screen, we're doing the calculation for this thing. What we're doing is we're adding up the amount of rewards that each stake individually is earned, and they're getting less now, right? So most of the models you might have seen got broke all over the place that people are using. It's because we've been using some sort of average for the past. Like I use 180-day moving average normally, and of course now that's blowing out, right? All of a sudden we're at 4. So it's not going to be 4, plus blah 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 divided by the number of days for the 180 days and come out with something like 6. It's 4, right? So at the moment it just dropped. So if that yield drops like that, which it did, the new share rate calculation is actually lower for every stake that hasn't ended yet. Now this could be temporary, it could be 7 days, right? It's fun, don't know, but right now these numbers are pretty accurate. That I would expect that we'll be somewhere up in the 41K range. Now I believe these are Godwill stakes that end on the 14th, the 15th. I believe that that's the case. So we'll have to wait and see, but that's what I would expect. There is some curiousness that this does correspond. These stakes that were made, 7-day stakes, and the day before. I don't know what that means. I don't know if it means anything, right? But they end the day before, like on the 13th, 14th, they'll be ending, and so that could be something that happens. So if our 30 days is no different, our 60 days is no different. We start approaching the 42 level. Again, these always vary. They're creeping upwards, not downwards. So these could all creep down a little bit, but we're going to go on kind of like normal, right? 90-day look ahead still has us out there. At that 42 range, about 90 days out. And then longer term, this will have to be developed over time. Longer term, I really don't see 2025 being much different once we get to the end of that, like I said. And then we'll start to see changes. Will depend on whether or not this 7-day stake. It depends on whether this stake starts rolling over or not. Right. So if it starts rolling over, we'll begin to see more. We'll begin to see more information and more different numbers, I guess, is what I would say. Yeah. So let's go take a look over here and see this, and we'll get to Benny's question. Boom, boom, boom. HEX T-shares. Boom. Look at that. On the PX up there at 18 million T-shares right now. This will end here shortly, of course, and then we'll see if they roll. But totally outpaced what we used to see for for the bow wave. It's completely out. Now I'll get to the next point, right? So you see how we have this huge number up here. Boom, looks like there's a lot of interest and everything. Well, we all know this is just this OA stake that came in, right? So up to now, people have been continue to fade the whole HEX staking idea, right? And so now they have even more reason to fade it. This makes me super bullish. Super bullish. Why? Because it means, because I'm already committed to this approach in the ladder. And so I'm going to continue to build my ladder. If it was bullish before the OA did this, it's even more bullish now, because I expect the OA could drop out, until I see something more permanent. I expect the OA could drop out at any time. They could drop out early, could drop out later, do whatever it wants to do, and just drop out. And that would mean that while everybody else is saying, I'm not staking, man, all of a sudden I got more T-shares than I had before. I own a greater amount of the percentage, and people have been fading it. And every day that goes by, that T-share rate's still going up. And it's going to make it harder and harder for people to keep up. And so, I'm super bullish on staking, and that's going to be a hard sell to anybody else. Be able to tell them, yeah, you should do this, because they're like, nah, man, why would I lock it up? Lock it up if I could just go do something else and get a 10x during the run up, which hasn't happened, by the way. That's always what we think. All right, Betty Blanco saying, when the 10 days are up, and then the next 7 days, and then the next, it will raise the rate faster. It won't matter much. Well, yeah, dude. I know that you know a lot about the system, and so let's talk about that for a bit. What Betty's getting at, and this is another very bullish thing about why I would want to be staked, even if the OA decided to roll and disincentivize the short stakers and kind of get them out of there. Every week it would earn a certain amount of new HEX, right? And if the stakes were ended, like a normal stake, that would mean that the rewards were minted. And so if the rewards are minted, they then become part of the total supply that gets paid out, right? So that total supply, every day there's, for the end of the day payouts, the contract goes and says, how many HEX have ever been minted? And it multiplies it by a factor that's based on 369 divided by 365. And so it comes up with, what the daily factor is that needs to be applied to that. If you increase the amount of HEX that's been minted, the HEX payout goes up. And then the HEX payout is divided by the number of shares to get the payout per share or payout per T-share. So, and the scenario Benny's outlining, yeah, you could, this is the most HEX ever staked for the shortest period ever. Maybe the target isn't to get the shorties out. Maybe it doesn't even care. Maybe what it wants to do is increase the amount of HEX that's getting minted to forever and ever secure the position of stakers, long-term stakers, right? So a lot of times I've talked about this on my stream, and again, not controversial for me, but some people might find it controversial. A lot of the times when I'm talking about it on the stream, we're looking at these things like, well, what's the right way? What's the right way to do crypto? HODL, right? This goes back to Richard's 10 Commandments, right? HODL, right? What's better than that? Staking, right? Time in the market beats time in the market. What's better than that? Staking, so you can't even hurt yourself, right? What's better than that? Earning on the staking, right? And so you have this whole series of things. And so what is the use case, right? People forget. Sure, Richard would talk about, periodically talk about, hey, you can test the water, see if you like it, whatnot. But the real way to do HEX is that you create a full ladder, right? With the concept that you're going to rake your rewards every time one comes out. And then once you do, you just add another stake at the end of the ladder, right? So what I'm getting at here is meaning out 15 years. So you might start with 15 years of stakes, one out a year, boom, 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 to 15. First year comes up, you scrape or do make whatever decision you're going to do, then you add another 15 years, right? Put you in the optimum situation and path, right? Well, anybody who's doing that in the scenario I outlined that Benny was suggesting is going to win. At least in the game of HEX, right? Heavy. Because if that was to happen that way, even if it didn't happen the way we're talking about with the OA, you would still be winning. You just would have to have contended longer with the short guys who are also gaining some speed by doing the short sticks. So so I go all the way back to all this stuff, and I start thinking about it. My thesis with Pulsechain has always been, that Pulsechain was built for HEX, right? I think there's probably no disputing that. Of course, Pulsechain is taking on its own life too. But HEX is the store of value. It's going to be the heat sink of value, And I think it's going to continue to be that way. And so, yes, there's lots of opportunities doing other things, just like in all of the crypto, but you don't necessarily have to do all those things. You could be in the old HEX and be able to do that. So it's kind of what I'm thinking, right? I'm thinking that is the way this will all work. I'll show you a couple more pictures. All right, so we took a look here at the T-shares, and I'm coming down, what that now looks like. For those who maybe haven't seen this before, let me just show you again, or show you maybe for the first time. I'm gonna put my filter on here, and what I'm going to say here is for this particular one, I want to do expected end date here, and I'm going to say is greater than in 2025. So I want to get out. I'm going to move 2025 out of here. Let me take that and bring that down. Let this go. Okay. So you see how I changed this? I got rid of 25. So we basically don't have 2025 shown anymore. So in this green section here at the bottom. All right. And so when we take a look at this, you can already see that we're pretty flat for the next 3 years for T-shares, right? So the only people who would have been filling in the T-shares would have been the shorties, right? I mean, there might be some of us that would say, hey, I'm going to come in and do a new ladder, right? Maybe some of us would come in and say, hey, I'm going to do a new ladder and put some rungs into those years, right? But by and large, right, you wouldn't expect these numbers to change significantly except for the bow wave. Well, the bow wave might be gone. Then over here in 29 and 30, these are the towers, right? So these are the towers of T-shares that represent the 10-year stakes from launch. Now we're made some presumptions that maybe half these guys and ladies will emerge the end stake, but for the moment, let's just assume they're here. That these towers are here, right? And then after that, you just see this kind of like a lull. This little cup over here, a lull, and then after 36, which represents the 15-year stakes, you see a lull. So basically, when people set up their staking, not everybody did full 15 years, right? And if they did, great on them. They probably represent the T-shares that showed up in the 2031 to 35, and then later on, if they were adding 38 and 39, etc. But for the most part, a lot of people were like, yeah, I'm going to do short stakes, and I'm going to do 10 years. So 10 years from launch, 2029, 2030. Or, yeah, I'm going to do 15 years because people are simple. They like simple stuff, right? I like simple stuff. 15 years, I did this too, right? But boom, they went out to 2036, right? Well, by and large, 31 through 35 was ignored, and now 37 through 40 are being ignored, comparatively. And what happens is because the T-share rate goes up, it becomes ever more expensive in terms of HEX to come back and add T-shares into 31, 32, 33, etc. I mean, just think about it now, particularly with this you're not even going to get, you can't even get like double-digit rewards perhaps for some of these years at the moment if we had these rolling stakes. And so the longer time goes, more time goes by, the less likely somebody's going to come up and say, hey, I just joined HEX. I'm going to restake. You know what? I'm not going to do 15 years. I'm going to do 11.5. Like, and people will be like, why? And they're like, I don't know. I just like 11.5 years. Maybe, but more than likely what people are going to do is not fill them in. And they'll do what people do is it'll be either short-term focused or maybe there'll be some that do ladders and we'll get a big spread, but you're just never going to see people come in, I think, and fill these years up. And it becomes even more unlikely day after day that these years will get filled. So I consider that to be super bullish for me because I am filling mine in. I have my runs, right? So so don't fill them in. In fact, all you guys that are out 10 years, merge the end stake. That'll make it so that I own a ton more percentage, right? Just be a little facetious. I really don't want people to do that, but you get my point, right? It'd be pretty cool if they all did that, because then now anybody who has T-shares after them is going to get all the rewards they would never get, plus the penalties that are there. All right. Let's see. Free speech saying, yeah, someone's going to have a good balance. I think so, too. Yeah, Benny, this is exactly the way I'm taking it. I'd like to be able to tell you exactly what's going to happen. I don't know. So I'm just taking like what I think are the most logical, kind of like Occam razor type stuff. What's likely to be the case? There's some sort of protection needs to be done to the system. Is likely. Maybe it's that. If it was more overt, it probably is to take out the shorties, right? Let them go, because would they even keep, if they're not staking long, maybe they'll decide to stake long, which is real positive. But if they're not staking long and they're only willing to stake short because they're speculating on price, why give them the free 7 or 8%? Cut it in half, because it's just sell pressure, right? And so cut it in half. And if that's the case, maybe they walk away and they go, nah, I'm not going to do it anymore. They sell all their HEX. Maybe we see downside price pressure, and they get out. And somebody else accumulates it that wants the HEX. I don't know. But we're going to watch it play out. Going to see what happens. PTFD say, would rolling short stakes for 52 weeks from the OA have a lesser effect on the T-share rate than the same stake? Oh yeah, definitely have less effect than 1 year. Because remember, even we could do all the math to figure it out. You're just gonna have to believe me or go read the economics audit. But just remember, every stake that ends, even these stakes, right? They're gonna always seek to create a higher T-share rate than the one that they had. And serial stakes, you lose at minimum a day. Right. And so you kind of lose pace with the system because if I do a 7-day stake, I serve my 7th day and I end it on the 8th and I restake it on the 8th. I'm not earning on the 8th. My next day that I earn is on the 9th. And so, yeah, it would definitely do that, have less of an effect than doing a year over the same time. Now, there is the potential, though, as we're talking about, though, that with such a large quantity, I don't know if anybody's done the math on this, but with such a large quantity of HEX being staked and earning weekly, it may be that the stake itself doesn't create the change. Maybe that has been the whole point behind short staking for some people, anyways, but. It's going to pump the amount of HEX that's been minted. And because the HEX that's been minted goes up, the amount that gets awarded on a daily basis goes up, right? And so, yeah, I think if we look at that over a year, we'd say, holy crap, yeah, because that's more HEX than anybody else can do. And so I suspect that the payouts will go up faster. Now, it would be some time before the payouts were high enough that it would affect all the built-in, sunk-in historic stakes and increase their calculations. But yeah, in theory, it could be, and it could really just, again, this is like your pie in the sky stuff for me as a staker. It basically could make it that staking becomes unattainable for those who have not done it. You know, like it's going to be like so crazily profitable, and you're going to have so much HEX that you can't even get into the class. You know what? You didn't believe year 1, fine. You didn't believe year 2, fine. You don't believe year 5, I guess you're screwed. You know, newcomers always welcome, you know, to start at the bottom rung, but you miss the big opportunities, like the bottom on day 33, the big payday, the run up in 21, you know. So I'm just kind of thinking that there's ramifications for not participating. Let's see what we got. Jacqueline. Hi, Jacqueline. Oh, yeah. Okay, so you must be. I had to read that. Yep. I don't know those guys, so I'm not sending anybody there. All right. Johnny Cass, I see you out there. Oh, yeah. HEX TC. Yeah, sure, man. I finally, I'll tell you what I finally did with my farms, right? I was like, and HEX TC saying 100 million HEX removed from the LP in the last hour. So first, let me just tell you, it wasn't my 100 million HEX, but I removed some of my HEX from the farms. Actually, I did pretty well on LP with HEX from day 1, so it did pretty good in terms of accruing units. I didn't end up in unit impermanent loss at all with one of them, which is pretty cool, you know. So I know we talk about impermanent loss all the time, but I did a HEX Pulsechain, right? And at the end, I had more units of both. I'm not even sure that's possible, but that's what it looks like on my numbers. So I guess I double check it just in case I'm wrong. But yeah, what's happening? You're seeing those farms be pulled down, and that will make things a lot easier. That'll make things a lot easier to bump, if that's our desire. BTFD, what do you like better? OA takes yield and compounds its position bigger, or sends the yield to a burn address? Well, there is no burn address. And, you know, meaning even if it's sent it somewhere, it still counts. It doesn't go away. There's nothing built into the contract that like identifies the dead address as being burned or anything, and it doesn't have the functionality to take external HEX and burn it. So once it claims the yield, if it was to mint it by ending, or there were, you know, some other mechanism through the good accounting where enough penalties or something were minted. I mean, it just exists on the system and starts going up. So then the question is, let's say the OA ends. What do I want the OA to do with it? To me, it makes no difference, you know, optics wise, whether or not it goes to a burn address. So it can be sent to the 369 address, or it's just kept in the OA's wallet. Doesn't make a difference to me, but I could see how some would view that as very benevolent, and I'd be okay with it. Right? I think that the OA would continue to have more impact though if it compounded, right? Because like we're talking about in the scenario where a staker class is going to benefit from a ongoing hyperinflation event. Ooh, that'd be pretty nice. I don't know if that's really going to happen though, guys. Right? So, I'm just, we would try to brainstorm a whole bunch of things that people are thinking might happen. You know, one of the scenarios is the OA is going to merge the end stake, right? Oh, there you go. That's another one. Don't know. Again, we'll have to watch and see what happens. Ukon. Nice to see you, Ukon. So continuous rolling stakes rewards people staking long with more HEX per day, compounding every day. Well, it doesn't compound per se, but and I think it's more like the continuous rolling stakes build up the potential of rewarding long stakers And the potential is, I mean, the long stakers, well, they would also get, from the standpoint of going from 4 to 4.001 to 4.002, yes, that would begin to reward the long stakers. But the big reward would be the day the rolling away stakes dropped out and the payout instantly doubles. That would be the real reward if that was to ever happen. So yeah, just kind of trying to go through your words about there. But yeah, that compounding could be used to enrich the HEX staking folks, and the ones who would benefit the most were the ones who were willing to be in for the longest, right? All right, S-Load, how you doing, S-Load? If fewer people stake after the interest rate change, fewer people commit calm, something to consider. Yeah, I wasn't sure where you're headed with that, but yeah, that's the case. Now it doesn't affect the short guys because they weren't going to mint calm anyways, because you got to do 180 days or longer. But yeah, I mean, this whole thing for the communists and calm, the fewer of these long stakes that we have, we just don't have very many guys, and some of them aren't even interested in communists. So the fewer of those you have, the less communists is going to be minted, and that's becoming super rare. It's all, I say that, but it's all, it's all a matter of perspective is what's rare, what's not rare. Tin Top Spike. Oh, hey, or is. Yeah, dude. Yeah, he, she, I'm assuming he. But I was wondering where my HEXFire live stream notification was. Really say, yeah, man. I've been bummed out last couple of weeks and stressed. I haven't lost my vigor for the community for HEX, but I just find it difficult to drag my ass onto the stream. I mean, it's not like I sit at the same computer at the same desk every single day working 18 hours a day for me, for you, just like my buddy Fonzie Sami. But yeah, it's just it's a matter of clicking the button to go live. But I figured, man, there's so much going on this week, and then the other thing that happened is my models blew up, right? Because I never programmed it to consider that anybody would even do, a billion HEX at a time. Well, I guess I had for a billion, but I didn't assume that somebody would do 100 million HEX, right? 100 billion HEX. And then what ended up happening is my models went down. It took me 3 days to kind of get everything sort of working again, because you remember HEX is divisible by 1 million, right? So you get all the way down to a heart. And so then some of the data just blew up. It was like, nope, can't do it. Too many digits. But here I am. Ukan saying maybe the long-term stakers a whole by accelerating the dollar value of the principal of the stakers put in. Yeah. It might be. This might be a way to make the long-term stakers whole. I get that. Because that's a very real thing, right? I mean, how to say it? Of course, I'm already told you guys a bunch of times on this stream I'm bullish, right? Even more bullish, and I'm going to do more staking next week, right? Don't do what I do. Do what you want to do. Push your own buttons. But yeah, man. I mean, think about this. I mean, this is pretty stressful. One of my friends. Let's see if he answered me. I don't want to read what he said exactly. But I'd seen a note, and basically the thing is listen, and this includes me too. I put my whole strategy together based on how HEX operates and how it works and how rewards are paid. And yes, I'm a little bothered, right? Because I've put a lot of value and time into building my ladder. And if my goal was 100 yards, I'm not getting there now. Maybe I'm going to make it 40 yards, right? And that's without extreme price appreciation or something like that. And so I could see some people watching this stuff and being like, F this. I'm never going to stake again. And in fact, I kind of, have the kind of like thought in my head, right? Like, what the hell? I mean, everything I've worked on for 2 or 3 years, right? So I was joking about the validators. So no more yield from the farms, no more yield from the HEX, blah, blah, blah. Maybe I got enough. I don't know. I mean, there's that too, pundits mentality. They've already got enough. But yeah, I mean, I could see some people like being totally turned off and be like, I ain't gonna do that. Why would I lock up for 15 years if the next week somebody can come in and cut it in half and I won't even have any? So yeah. But yeah, this is going to be tough, and there is this opportunity where that could be something to to accelerate the dollar value, because if you were suddenly getting a lot more HEX and it's worth a lot more, you might be in position, right? Yeah, Benny's talking about 2034. Yeah, on this chart here, if I show it to you guys again, you can see what he's getting at and what I was talking about. Here's 2034 right here, this little tiny one. Yeah, so assuming all my numbers are correct and everything, it's 171,000 T-shares ending in 2034, and so there'll be a supply shock, in that year. In that there'll be much less available. Now, well, what will that mean at that time? I don't know. Maybe the people who were out in 36, 37, by then they're either gone or they're willing to get out then and they fill in 34. But there won't be a lot of natural stakes ending in that period of time. Let's see here. Yeah, Psycho. 15 years will go quicker than we realize. I can't believe it's already 5 years. I was going to say the same thing. My 5 years are already up. So yeah, I mean, time does pass. So we can we'll be at 15 in no time. Johnny Chaos says, long stakes, up T-share rate. It isn't size. Mostly true. Agree. I agree with Johnny. And what he's getting at here is that the longer T-share rates have an opportunity, or longer T-share stakes. I should say it again. The longer stakes have an opportunity to accumulate at many more days where there's big payouts, and so that means that their relative ROI could be a little bit higher. So it's not about size per se. The only time, it's only been a few times, we could actually look at the numbers. I won't pull them up. We've done it before. Yeah, you see stakes of all different sizes, popping the rate up. But it's not, so little ones do it too. At one point in the beginning, we all made the assumption, because the way vanilla talk about it is the system makes sure you can't earn more ROI than the last guy, blah, 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 right? Well, we all assumed, I assumed that that meant that the biggest stakes that were out for the longest would be the ones that would have the ROI, but it's not always the case. And then there's always like bumps in the road and stuff. So yeah. So we just go with it, man, and just say, well, just push the believe button. A lot of this stuff you don't have to know. I was talking to Johnny about this. You don't need to know all the details how it works. You just got to understand that it ratchets up and it goes up to the right, and that's it. Right? No need to know exactly what the calculations are. Hudson saying we got a pump on PX. We should have a pump on PX, though I doubt it's from my stream. But maybe. Hey, you never know. Oh yeah. And Johnny's saying big payday hasn't been missed. It hasn't been distributed. I'm not sure what that's in reference to, but yeah, it's not over 2035. That's correct. Big paydays, because they're baked in there, guys, right? So people who did big payday stakes, which would have been stakes that were made and started before November 19th, 2019, and ended after that. They get an extra bonus. There's a bunch of bonuses, and won't get into the details, but they get what we call the big payday bonus. And so they could have been out to Quattro Cinco, where they get that bonus, right? And so it goes all the way out. And yeah, I mean, people could be, getting this all the way into 2036, 35, 36. And so whatever the exact date is for it. And that's interesting too, because some people do not understand the emergency end staking, and they should always check out what the exact details are before they emergency end stake their HEX stakes, because the way it is written is, even if you get past your 50% mark, you lose all of the rewards from the first half of your stake, including big payday. So always check that stuff out, because if you have a big payday stake and you're losing it, you're losing that reward. If you emergency end stake, doesn't matter when you do it. Benny confirms the pump. He's confirming the pump. Let's go. Oh, yeah. PX is currently at the big payday pump level. Maybe. Hey, Johnny's saying that we don't really know who's going to end up with the big payday HEX, because they have to finish the term to keep it, or they ask to log in. That's right. It gets spread around everybody else. Well, Hudson's saying, hey, at what price do we start seeing significant ES 5, 10? Yeah, I would guess we might see some at 5, 10 for sure. I think you start seeing 20, 25 cents going up towards 50. You'll begin to shake some people out, and I was talking to Axis about this yesterday, and he, it's just arbitrary, not financial advice. We're just talking about the possibility of still going up 100x on HEX from where we are today. So getting into the dollars range, clearly, that would be an opportunity for people to emergency end stake. And I get it. Hey, listen, you've been here for 5 years and you can emergency end stake and pull out 6 figures. Maybe you're going to do that. I'm not recommending you do that. If you had been in as a true believer in the beginning, then you already have a ladder. You don't need to do that. But I can understand after 3, 4, 5 years of pain that you would do that. And that goes back to our point about the OA and the stakes. Well, let's say that's an anticipated event. Maybe that's one of the reasons to be staked. Shell Fox, word on the street is loyalty pays. Yes. I don't know if it pays, but I like loyalty anyways. All right. I saw on your site the models. Yeah, they shot themselves, man. And I show you some of them. They got like XYZ. I need to wait for these 7 days to get past, and then I can go fix them. I started working on some things. Like maybe what I could do is just assume a 4 HEX payout per T-share per day into the future, but I want to see how things go. What I might do is just redo all the models. I've advanced my tech quite a bit, and I got a lot of cool stuff that I could be doing differently. Yeah, Johnny's saying people might be emergency end staking, like we did before big payday. Yeah, there were people that were out. They're like, I'm out. I already got my gain. I'm out. They were out. So that was possible. And I agree with Johnny. It was the worst time. That was the best time for me to be doubling down, which I didn't do. I didn't, because, I had this approach. My approach was I was in early, let my winners run, take back some of my profits, and then things were taking off, so I was in again. But I was like, well, I don't know what's going to happen with big payday, so I didn't like go all in before big payday. So I ended up with like a tranche, pre big payday and post big payday, and I regret that a little bit. I don't regret it, I guess. Let me just restate it. I would have been better off if I had just gone all in, but people got to do stuff. You got to figure out your own plan, right? What you want to do, when you want to do it. Tam, love you too. All right, what are we talking about here? Psycho crypto. These HEX prices, I keep making small quattro things just for fun. Why not? Yeah, I know, dude. Hey, you may find yourself to be one of the surviving whales. at that rate. It's quite possible. We'll go look at those numbers and see. Green needs to see you out there. Hexagon Greenhorn, I haven't seen you in a long time, man. Long time. All right. Benny Blanco says the people who quit on big payday gave their bags to me. They sure did, man. They sure did. They sure did. Let's go take a look. I don't know what else I might want to show you on this. But let me go see. Oh, I could show you one more on this one, and then we're going to go look at the 2040 numbers. I just show you how faded the HEX is and how you might have an opportunity. All right, so let me take this guy off. Let's take him off. Let's go back to this report. And we're going to just go look at the counts and just see what happened with the counts. It's kind of funny because, we've been talking about this for 3 years, on this show, other shows, and just watching the charts, and every time I'm like, well, the T-share trend is down, the count goes down. That's what it does, except not this time. Right? So you look at what we did. Went from roughly around 8.7 on both chains to see where to get up to 18 million. So boom. Oh, just overnight. Just a solid wall of T-shares. Just a solid wall. All right, so we got that going on. And then let's go take just a quick look at 2040 and see where we ended up. We're almost into May now for 2040 for T-shares. We got, let me take a look here at the detail table, see what we got. All right, so we're down to one Poseidon, a little bit of competition there, people building up their T-shares. According to my records, just 12,690 T-shares out there into April, and that represents something like 3,000 T-shares a month. So it puts us on track for 2040 to be right around 36 to 40,000, maybe 45,000. And so, yeah, guys, the only T-shares that get out there are the ones that get made. So it's 12. There's only 12,000 of them out there in 2040. So we'll see what happens. Maybe it goes up to 30,000, 40,000. But I'll tell you what, guys, I couldn't get huge position in the beginning of HEX the way I operated, but I can get one at the end of this time frame in 2040. So we go look at what the requirement is right now in that year. This is the furthest year out. We take a look at the requirement per league. You just pick a 3, right? Like I can do 3. I can do 3 T-shares, right? That would put me safely above in the dabbling dolphin. I could definitely be trying to get there. I mean, what's 3 T-shares right now? $700 or something, right? I don't know the numbers. I didn't add it up, but it's right around that value. So why wouldn't I do that? I'm already believing HEX. Why wouldn't I make sure I'm a dolphin? And clearly people are not doing it. So, and again, I'm telling you that they're going to be unable to come back with force and, replace or increase the numbers the further we get past 2040. Just like the 2039 numbers, you don't see them changing a whole lot. It may go up a little bit. But, so yeah, for very little, you can take a position out there. And so what I'm using this chart for is to kind of monitor over time, how many T-shares are out there, and see how many are out there, and just make sure that I'm always keeping up with the level I want to be at. And I kind of like the dolphin level, so just try to shoot for that and make sure I have at least that many T-shares. And if I can do better, I'll do better. All right, Greenhorn's chilling, hanging out and chilling. Green News, yeah. Hey, you know what? Free Speech News. He says I was actually going to get my big payday gains and bounce. That was an idea. it was an idea too. It was a strategy too. People were thinking that at the time. I mean, listen, a lot of us did just come off getting like beat the crap out of on in 2017, 2018. So we were feeling a little spicy, man. So yeah, a lot of people were thinking that at that time. Many saying, yeah, the code's going to run forever beyond our lifetime. That's right. And Johnny's talking about one of the big streamers we had. Yeah, quit and urged everyone to get out. I remember that. Yeah, I used to watch this stuff too at the time, from time to time. But I wasn't that close to it, so I didn't really do it for me. Michael Patterson, I like goals, man. I think that's an excellent goal. Super shock. I'll be a super shock. Be a super shock. You can kind of focus on that stuff and try to do it. Okay, I don't think I got anything else to say, but I think things are super bullish myself. Yes, I don't like the idea of not being able to get rewards or yield, and it does mess up all my planning. But remember, some of this stuff can be temporary, and increase in price can overwhelm and overtake all of this and hurt people, right? And I'll tell you what, because I've been collecting my HEX. I mean, I'm sorry for new people who come in that might not have done this, right? I've been collecting my HEX at 40% APR, for 5 years. All right. So maybe I don't need too much more HEX at a 200X, if you see what I'm saying. If you see what I'm saying, maybe I don't need too much more. You see what I'm saying? So there you go. I mean, that could be a hell of a thing for the existing stakers. Hey, Wealth. Nobody puts the T-Share into perspective. We got to focus on it. Better than Chris Pete. Thank you, sir. Each time I see that, I just want to do Quattro Cinco stakes. Yeah, man. I keep convincing myself to do them too. But so I can definitely appreciate that. Now, what I would say to everyone is, listen, you got to think your stuff through. It's not just Quattro Cinco only. And I think it's important that you be able to pay your bills and shit, right? You ought to be able to pay your bills, live, whatever you need to do, keep the four walls together. And then when you're in crypto, you definitely need to be figuring out what you're doing this cycle. If you want to just do it loosely this cycle, next cycle, and then long term, yeah, you need to have different strategies. And, some people, hey, if your strategy, you just want to go long term, go for it, man. People do that with 401ks and Roth IRAs and stuff. That's what you want to do it. You just got to know that if you're locking up for 15 years, you're locking up, man. You're not getting that out, for 17 and a half years. But yeah, I like multi-prong, type strategies. But yeah, I keep coming back. I'm kind of like, and I wasn't like this 2 years ago. I wasn't even like this in 21. I wasn't like, oh, I should be doing Quattro Cincos. For even when I was doing the talking about it before, when I first started the channel, I wasn't like super heavy. But now I find myself in this position where I have my ladder, and sure, I might do some other stuff, shorter term with HEX, but I've got my ladder. The only stake that makes sense for me is a Quattro Cinco now. Well, what yeah, I might do shorts now, but now even the shorts, I'm not going to earn anything on them, right? So, yeah. So anyways, so my thinking on it always keeps coming back to that. The thing about it is you don't have to be like, you have to go nuts to secure a huge position. You could secure as high a position as you want. Hold back on some of your HEX, and because that was the other thing I ran into a problem with is I can't make 2041 stakes yet. Right? They don't exist yet. I can't do it. So I got to have HEX in a year from now to put a 2041 stake in. So, maybe I hold back some of my HEX and, just keep it ready to go for the next year, and then always be able to add in. All right. Let's take a look here. Wealth's agreeing. Yeah, the weekly chart's pretty good. I do. I've been watching too. I like that. Well, saying exactly the same. I have a ladder I'm content with. Anything to do is Quattro Cinco. And Brian Etch. agree. Once you have a lot of, the only thing that makes sense is a Quattrocinco, 100%. Yeah, and now I've begun to play this other game with the communist stuff, where I'm trying to become one of the leaders of the the most communist staked. Whatever. I'm just, I get the communists and I'm supporting that system because I do believe that is a possible thing with the right backing to support X, but kind of off topic right here. All right, guys. Well, I guess that is the end of this stream, unless there's any last second questions, and I'll leave you with a comment from Psycho Crypt 023, 1 hour left to get a new Quattrocinco stake in you all. I don't know if I want the stake in you all, but yeah, stake. Got it. So you guys stay crispy, and we'll see you the next time around. You guys have questions, comments, send them into the chat or send me a message. I'll try to get to them and try to address what's what. And hey, Hex Wizard, again, thank you for that super chat. And we will see you next time. Maybe there can be some other huge, exciting, explosive news. I don't know. Maybe we'll be talking about all-time highs Hex next week. I don't know. So stay crispy.